Africa. Don't be very far. We want to start with the national anthem. Amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi.
Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tujimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
I'll ask Bishop if he's around, lead us in a word of prayer. We continue to stand. Kindly give him the microphone.
Our Father and our God, we bow in great reverence to you this day, acknowledging your grace that have been together with us from the very beginning of this conference, bringing us together and bringing us, Lord, to this final day.
Is it working?
As we prayed and have continued to pray, we want to thank you for all the knowledge and indeed understanding that you have given to us. And Lord, even as we go back where we have come from, we are going a people of a great wisdom, great understanding, and Father, great revelation of all that Father you have called us to do where we are. And we pray that this will bring great transformation and change. So even as we come to this final moment, Lord, we thank you even for the crosses. We return all the glory and all the praises to you. In Jesus' name we pray and we do believe.
Let's be seated. And I would want to request those who are seated behind, please, there's a lot of space here. It doesn't look nice here. You are the guest that we have been waiting for. There's no any other guest who is coming. So please, we request you to move forward, especially these two rows on my right. They are like totally deserted. We don't want any desolate place in this conference. And it is also good when the communication team is focusing. So by the same powers, I would like to declare anybody behind the video camera is outside the conference. Please move forward. So that place is degazetted for now. It's not part of the conference. We will be able to gazette it later on if we need that space. Good. Let's move. We still have space, please. Yeah, we want to have a candid conversation with to exchange ideas and address those key challenges so that we can accelerate safely managed sanitation. So please, we have pleaded with the speakers once more and the moderators, let us maintain time so that we are able to leave here early enough. So at this juncture, we still have our established protocols where we have the chief guest, our cabinet secretary in charge of water, sanitation and irrigation, the host governor of this great county, Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o, principal secretaries, their representatives, county governments represented, water sector institutions. We have various leaders here, starting with our chairman who is leading the Water and Sanitation Providers Association. We have the chairman of NRC, chairman, directors of water institutions. They are here, we recognize them. The private sector, the NGO world, associate members of WASPA, all water utility heads, the fourth estate, and finally Gen Z. Gen Z oe. Sinaona tumeongeza kwa protocols. Gen Z oe. Gurumeni. So allow me to bring in the moderator of the session. His CV is long, I don't want to talk about it. Let me give him the liberty to introduce himself. But in short, he's Professor James Meso, a very good friend of mine. He likes referring himself to Manjemo. I don't want to believe I've breached protocol. So let us put our hands together as he comes.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, as the outgoing CEO has correctly pointed out, my name is Engineer Professor James Meso Raude from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. I thought my name is loud enough. Okay. Do I need to repeat? No. I'm a staff of JQuat, but I'm also a consultant with Rhines Engineering Services Limited. So if you see me in your counties, that will be Manjemo. If you see me in JQuat, that's professor engineer. So get the balance right, because when I'm in the field, I also expect to learn from you, right? I'm privileged this morning to be the moderator of this session. And for the interest of time, may I check whether we are with our first speaker, Dr. Walter Ongeti. If you are there, kindly take the podium. Our second speaker, or representative of the second speaker, our second speaker is supposed to be Michael Wayo. Do we have a representative, or you are? So, just because I also know that you want to listen to the presentation and also see the presenter, I'll allow you to sit there. And then may I also confirm if the panelists are in the house? Do we have a representative from UNICEF? None. Do we have Madam Eva? Thank you. Do we have Douglas Omoto?
I represent.
Excellent. I wish he was here. Do we have Alex Njagi? Not there. Do we have Suraj from Danko? I think he's somewhere, or a representative. So phase 2, we'll have you over here. Meanwhile, let us actually hear from our presenter, but before he does his presentation, allow me to just give you a glimpse of who our presenter is. This is just, like a course outline. Dr. Ongeti is an accomplished academician. Allow me to read. I don't want to corrupt the write-up. He is an accomplished academician, a strategic thinker, a trainer, corporate governance practitioner, manager, and a resourceful person with demonstrable leadership and management capacity, including knowledge of strategic management, training, corporate governance, and research. Walter holds a PhD in business administration, strategic governance, an MBA in strategy and change management, and a B.Ed in business studies and economics from the same university. And those qualifications, not honorary. He served as the chairman of the University Council of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology. That means he was my boss, council chair. Yeah, so I feel humbled, thank you. And a board member of Kenya Animal Genetics Resource Center and Naivasha Water and Sewerage Company. He currently serves as a board member of Oasis Mental Hospital. I thought occasionally that we all have mental problems. All of us. It depends on the level. Mental Hospital. And NHC Maisha Hospital. Walter participates in mission work at CITAM and PAG churches. Bishop, kuna mwingine hapa. Take note of that. He is also an accomplished speaker on governance and strategy and has so far delivered transformational talks at various events, including ISPAC, ICPR, IHRM, UUKI, amongst others. Honestly, our speaker for the day has set the pace. Our second speaker, bumper kwa bumper, ako hapa. He is a managing director of Regen Organics, leading teams to implement and innovate businesses and models that are solving critical challenges for society in Africa. At Regen Organics, where they operate the largest organic waste management and reuse in East and Central Africa, employ the circular economy model where they collect more than 200 tons per day. Tons. Multiply that by 1,000, you will get it in kilograms. More than 200 tons per day of organic waste from Nairobi, and convert the waste into regenerative agriculture products that are improving the productivity and livelihoods of more than 15,000 farmers in Kenya. The profile is specific to the talk today. For now, may I allow our first speaker to take the podium. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, the moderator was describing Dr. Ongeti. I'm here to represent Dr. Ongeti, who is the CEO of Kenya Accreditation Service. I'm Abraham Wekesa, who is the manager at Kenya Accreditation Service. So I will go straight to the presentation, which is actually in line with sub-theme 3, which is innovations, technologies, and market opportunities for improved sanitation governance and service delivery. So the title of my presentation will be Enhancing Water Quality and Safety Through Accredited Testing and Calibration Laboratories, the Key to Sustainable Sanitation Governance. We shall move through the following. I'll talk about KENAS, the importance of water quality and safety, the role of accredited testing and calibration laboratories, and how accreditation underpins water quality and safety. I'll also, at the tail end, talk about the impact of water quality and sanitation governance, and lastly, I'll be able to offer a conclusion on the same. The Kenya Accreditation Service was established in 2019 via the KENAS Act. The mandate is to accredit and exercise oversight over conformity assessment bodies. This includes testing laboratories, inspection bodies, and certification bodies. We shall get to the details later on. The broad objective is just to strengthen the quality infrastructure and to build confidence in Kenyan products and services, locally and globally. The water that we take, such that if a foreigner comes here, can have confidence in the water that we have and take it without any concerns or reservations. KENAS has currently accredited 279 organizations within Kenya and outside the country. KENAS is globally recognized so as to have your certificates as laboratories, as certification bodies, as inspection bodies, globally recognized. KENAS is a member of global umbrella organizations, of which one is ILAC, the other one is IAF, and at continental level we have AFRAC. So it is a member of the same, and these apex organizations undertake what is known as peer evaluation to check that KENAS also complies to the applicable standards that have been provided for them to comply to. On the importance of water quality, it is first, the foundation for health. It is a basic human need. The concern about waterborne diseases, the quality of life, and from the introduction that we got today, SDG number 6 about clean water and sanitation. So with respect to this, we need to ensure that our laboratories, which are very key with respect to these aspects, ensuring confidence about these aspects, that they are accredited, that the quality of test results that we get from these laboratories are actually credible. This will actually assist us in the decisions. As policymakers, it will assist us in decisions that we make. But last, it will actually be able to provide public trust with respect to the citizenry that we serve on the services that we provide to them. So water quality monitoring rests upon the firm base of laboratory data. The laboratories that we have, there are three key aspects about the laboratories that we have, which is about quantitative aspects, qualitative aspects, and the third aspect is value addition. So in the water sector, when we talk about qualitative aspects, we are talking about the chemical composition of water. There are standards that we need to comply to. Are our tests, the water that we are producing, meeting those requirements? And how sure are we, based on the systems that we've put up in our laboratories, that they meet the same? On quantitative, we talk about the quantity. If you say 1 cubic meter, is it exactly a cubic meter? So we talk about traceability of measurements. How traceable are these? That is why we talk about calibration laboratories. I'm happy that some of the players here are accredited for those scopes. So it is a familiar territory for them. So the data that we get must accurately describe the characteristics of a sample. Example, when we want to get samples, we get to the field to take samples, to sample. How do we do it? Because the way we sample has an effect on the representation of the result that we shall get eventually. So the way we do this is actually an issue of concern because it will eventually affect the results that we shall be getting. Any approximations that we make, the methods that we use, whether they are in-house, validated or not validated, is an issue that we need to take into consideration. The importance of water quality, laboratories actually apply sampling and analytical methods. These are very key with respect to the results that we give. The space that we use, we must be having sufficient space that does not allow for interferences. The equipments that we use are very key to ensure that the results that we give are accurate. Next is the personnel that we use, the skills that we give them. And lastly is about the sampling and analytical methods that are defined. So when we talk about accreditation, what is it? It is a formal recognition that a laboratory is competent to carry out specific tests or calibrations. This recognition is actually provided by a third party. And in this case, we are talking about KENAS. So this recognition is given on the basis of fulfillment of the applicable international standard, which is known as ISO IEC 17025. This is aimed at ensuring that the results that the laboratory gives are accurate and reliable. This will allow easy decision making based on the data that would have been given in the laboratory. In this sector here, by virtue that there are some players who are already implementing this, it will be a point of sharing information to make sure that we raise the bar for the sector by all of us trying to embrace the same so that we can improve the lives of our people. So when we talk about this standard, there are a number of issues that are addressed in this standard. The first is technical competence of the staff. The competence is defined in this standard as the ability to apply skills and knowledge. You cannot apply skills and knowledge if you do not have the skill itself. Next is the availability, the validity and appropriateness of the methods that we use. We need to ensure that we validate the methods for accuracy and other parameters so as to be sure that they are fit for purpose. The next is environmental conditions. Where we are undertaking this test, we should put measures in place to ensure that we control the environmental conditions so as not to affect the results that we provide. The next aspect is traceability. As I indicated, our results should be traceable to SI. Calibration and maintenance of equipment is another aspect that is highlighted in that standard. Then the last aspect is quality assurance, quality controls. There is proficiency testing, PT materials, just to check that your results are continuing to be accurate. So the importance of this is about standardization and consistency. We need to be consistent. We move around. You move from Kisumu here, you go to Eldoret, you go to Nyeri. Are you free to take water in any of these places that you get to? If you are assured of the system, the framework that has been put in place in these places that you are going to, you will be able to take the water without any fear. Thus, this will create confidence and credibility in the services that you provide to the public, and they will not have any reservations to take the products that we are giving them. So the importance of accreditation, it will give us an assurance of accurate and reliable testing. It will also assure us of consistency of quality, that we have systems that can assure consistency in the quality of services that we provide, adherence to regulatory requirements. There are environmental requirements. We shall be able to comply. Other sector requirements are also there, but it will also provide confidence in the public about the services that we provide. It will minimize the operational risks. It will increase the operational excellence, and it will increase the efficiency. There are market opportunities that we shall actually exploit, which is enhanced reputation, market differentiation, and increased business opportunities. With increased business opportunities, I wish to make reference to the waste that we generate. The waste that we generate, if we can be able to add value into those, to be able to test for the heavy metals that are contained therein, we shall actually be able to attach a value tag to the waste that we have and be able to sell them at a premium. At the moment, we never test, so we cannot attach a premium to them. So we cannot, actually what we are doing is basically disposing of. We should be selling it at a premium because of the value that it has. We need to get value from it. As we've said, this will assist us in evidence-based decisions, improve the service delivery, and improve the public health outcomes, and adherence to SDG number 6 on water and sanitation, as we've said. There are organizations here that have already walked the journey, as I indicated, and they are shown. That is Kisumu, Nyeri, Eldoret, and Nakuru. That I'll not belabor. In conclusion, I will state the three aspects again that I talked about with respect to the sector. There are qualitative aspects, quantitative aspects, and value addition. When we talk about qualitative, it's both chemical and microbial. We need to be alive to that and be able to put up an infrastructure that will be able to give us assurance with respect to those three areas. And in conclusion, we shall be able to demonstrate a commitment to enhanced water quality and commitment to quality. Thanks a lot.
I forgot to mention that we'll have all the speakers, the two speakers, and then we'll also have the panelists. So as they give us the presentations, please note down areas of clarification, questions, and then we'll conclude by having a Q&A session for the interest of time. I want to invite the second speaker. Please take the podium. Just some correction. Michael Luenyo is a director at Synergy that provides sanitation solutions in urban slums. As part of their model, they treat and convert waste to fertilizer and animal feed. I'll ask the speaker to formally introduce himself. Thank you.
Habari zenu? Yeah. I'll formally introduce myself. So my name is Michael Oyelo. I'm the managing director of Region Organics. Region Organics is part of the Synergy Collaborative. I'll explain. So two companies working together, Fresh Life and Region Organics. Yeah. So I'll explain how that works once the presentation comes online. Yeah, asante sana for inviting us to the sanitation conference. And I've learned something new today. When you're doing it's called what? When you're introducing it's called what? All protocols observed. You have to mention Gen Z. Gen Z, OA. Fantastic. Yeah, so, so as I said, I don't know, the presentation is not, can you guys see the presentation? No. 2 minutes. Yeah, Regional Organics and Synergy, yeah? Yeah, so what Synergy is Synergy is the entire model end-to-end that addresses two things, yeah? So on the left-hand side, it addresses the sanitation challenge in urban informal settlements, yeah? And those are, of course, handled by Fresh Life. So as you guys know, more than 10 billion people, more than 1 billion people will actually live in urban informal settlements, yeah? And in Kenya, more than 10 million people live in urban informal settlements. Now, what Fresh Life does is that it constructs, it builds, collects, and then transports waste from these urban informal settlements. Now, on the right-hand side of the equation is where we have Region Organics. Now, what happens is that Fresh Life delivers waste to Region Organics. Then Region Organics also collects waste from markets, as well as other agricultural producers, other agricultural waste producers. And then it uses technologies to convert that waste into value. Yeah, so the first value we make is insect-based protein from black soldier fly technology. Then the second one is organic fertilizers, and then the third one is biomass briquettes. Now we're using that to then solve the food security challenge on the right-hand side of the equation. Yeah, so then in the middle you have the circular economy. So it's very interesting how you can solve a sanitation challenge and then transfer the benefits into solving a food security challenge. Yeah, so that's what we'll talk about today. Good. So as we've said, in Kenya, right now, more than 10 million people live in urban informal settlements. Now, what is even sad about all of that is only like 66% of the waste is unsafely managed. So it means the balance is actually just ends up in the environment, which of course, as you guys know, being the sanitation side, that basically results in health and hygiene issues. So I've spoken about food security. I'll jump this. Now, back to our model, as you guys can see, sorry guys, 1 second. What I'm seeing on my screen is not the same as what I can see on the presentation. Move with me, please. Cool, there. So this is the circular economy that I was explaining, yeah? So remember, it's not just about sanitation, it's about sustainable sanitation, yeah? Which is how do you then collect that waste and make use of it so that it just doesn't end up in the environment? While we respect what our folks in the waste management, waste treatment area do with their waste treatment facilities, I think the step beyond that is to actually prove that you can provide sustainable sanitation by subsidizing this model with revenues coming from either side of it. Yeah. So currently, the traditional sanitation financing mechanisms, they work like government provides money for you to be able to do safe sanitation. So what at Sanergy we believe in is that the revenues that we get through the circular economy, through the right-hand side of the circle, if you like, through regenerative agriculture, they can actually help subsidize the costs that come with sanitation. Yeah. So that's why you have Fresh Life in blue doing the sanitation part, and I'm sure all of you guys know Fresh Life, and us guys, Regen Organics, doing the reuse component of this. So moving forward, the issue, of course, with sanitation has always been that majority of the solutions focus on access. So when you look at sewers, it's all about, okay, how can we at least provide access in such a way that people can be able to offtake that waste, yeah? But they do not focus on what then happens after you have collected or channeled that waste into somewhere, yeah? And of course, what then that results in is things that look like that, which is if you go to Nairobi and other urban centers, you see either sewers exploding, that is water going everywhere, or if you go to Ruai, you see a waste treatment plant that doesn't work. Yeah. So what through Fresh Life we've decided to do is provide non-sewered access. Now, non-sewered access is very, very important because if you go to urban informal settlements, actually laying out sewerage connections is very, very expensive. When you have houses every 10 meters, it is very, very expensive from an engineering perspective to actually lay down sewer lines everywhere. Yeah? So our solution, that is a container-based sanitation solution that I think you guys have seen in the stands, basically looks at a different way of conveyancing. So we contain the waste in containers, we then collect, and the good thing about our containment system is that it separates urine from feces, because the treatment required for both is different. Now, as a recycler, now Regen Organics, the way I look at it is what Fresh Life is able to provide is the purest form of fecal waste. Because remember, as recyclers, one of the biggest costs that we have is that we have to clean up majority of the waste that comes into us. So whether you're doing plastics or you're doing organic waste, the biggest challenge you'll have is for you to have waste of a good quality coming into your process, you need to either separate and segregate. Yeah. Now, what Fresh Life system does is that it is one of the best systems in the world when it comes to segregation of the purest form of fecal waste. Remember, with sewers, which is the other thing you can do, for you to actually convey using a sewerage system, you need to mix with water, and for you to be efficient, you need to actually mix it with other form of drainages that come from a residential unit, which means you're combining cosmetics, you're combining everything that you use to wash your dishes, detergents and everything, which means that from a recycler's perspective, waste that comes from sewer lines is very difficult to process. Yeah? So what Fresh Life does is provides, of course, on the urban informal settlements, provides a safe sanitation system, but from a reuse perspective, provides a very efficient way to reuse that waste. So as you guys may know, Fresh Life has more than 7,000 toilets across Kenya and Zambia, and they serve more than 200,000 people every day. So that's a huge and massive sanitation network that is run by our sister company, Fresh Life. And of course, they collect more than 22,000 tons of waste every year that then goes to fuel the circular economy on the reuse side to help us solve the food security challenge that we have in Africa. So Regen Organics, which is where we work, again, sister company of Fresh Life, we take that waste and then we collect, as you said, Professor, we collect a lot of waste from Nairobi. Yeah? So we're collecting more than 200 tons of waste per day from Nairobi. And of course, if you combine that with the sanitation waste coming from Fresh Life, you get the largest organic recycling facility in Eastern Central Africa. So we get that waste. My guys on the presentation, you're lagging behind slightly. Yeah, let's move. Yeah. So on the recycling side, what you guys are seeing is one, a very efficient waste collection system. Of course, waste coming from Fresh Life is containerized. Waste coming from urban centers is again segregated, and then it goes into the production system. So in the production system, we have black soldier fly technology. I don't know how many of you know what black soldier flies are, by show of hands. Very good, very informed crowd. So, very informed crowd. Yeah. So black soldier flies are basically insects that look like the housefly, but they are 10 times more efficient than the housefly when it comes to digesting waste. And they're also a very clean insect because they don't feed during their adulthood, so they're not propagators of diseases. So that is why a lot of waste management companies are turning to the black soldier fly as a waste treatment technology. Yeah? So if you have about 100 tons of waste coming into the production system, in about 10 days, you have 30 tons of waste going out. Yeah? So BSF actually reduces the volume of waste by 70% within 10 days. Yeah? So very, very efficient. So what we then do is feed the waste, and of course we have proprietary recipes, and our good friend Dr. Joy here used to be one of the people who came up with some of those recipes that you're talking about. So we feed those recipes to the insects. The insects grow. They produce protein, because on the food security side, one of the issues with feeding animals is that we don't have enough protein. So can you imagine, for us to feed our animals, we come to Lake Victoria to fish omena, and that's what some feed millers use to produce full feed for our animals so that we can eat them. Very inefficient. Yeah? So black soldier flies then become the more ecologically friendly source of insect-based protein. So these things are about 40 to 50% protein. So we sell those to feed manufacturers who then use that to produce feed to feed pigs, fish, and chicken. Now, the 30% of waste that remains, which we call frass, which is, so you have organic waste, you've reduced it by 30%, you get BSF, and then you get frass. So the frass, we take it into the thermophilic composting process to produce compost. That is a 3 to 6 months process where we can compost it with material that is very high in carbon, nitrogen, in carbon. We actually import material from the sugar belt here in Kisumu and Kakamega. Yeah. So we import bagasse all the way to our factory in Nairobi. And there we combine that with the frass to produce Evergrow organic fertilizer, which is what you're seeing to your left. So Evergrow is the largest brand of organic fertilizers in the country, and you're serving more than 20,000 farmers. So on the food productivity side, one of our biggest problems, I don't know whether you guys attended the African Soil Health Summit, one of our biggest problems with food production is that our soils are not healthy. So in temperate climates, unlike in Europe, because we don't have a winter, what that happens is that the organic matter in soils is very, very low. So even just across the country, you get places like Siaya, where they're producing 8 bags an acre of maize. You go to Western, where they're doing maybe 12 there. Then you get to Kitale, they're doing close to 28. Now the difference is soil health. So it doesn't matter how much inorganic fertilizer you can put into the soil if you don't address soil health. It's just like a human who has cancer. If it doesn't matter how much you feed them, you'll not see them grow because of the disease. Yeah. So for us to produce food at the required level, we need to address soil health. Ms. Mdavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, actually said that only 30% of soil productivity at farm level comes from the inorganic fertilizers. So subsidies are great, but the conversation needs to shift into addressing soil health. Now, to address soil health, what you need is you actually need, one of the solutions is organic fertilizer. So our product, when it goes into the soil, it does what we call pH buffering. And then beyond that, it improves soil structure. Then beyond that, it basically creates an environment that reduces leaching. Now, you would know, if for the agriculturists in the room, if you apply 1 kilo of mineral fertilizers into the soil, only 30% of it is efficient. The other 70 actually leaches away. So what organic fertilizers do is that they reduce leaching, and that way they increase nutrient use efficiency. That's why our farmers are seeing upwards of a 30% increase in yield. So if a farmer was doing 100 crates of tomatoes, all of a sudden they start doing 130 crates of tomatoes. Yeah. So just right there through our model, you're seeing one, you've solved sanitation in urban slums, but we've not stopped there. We're now using a circular economy model to actually improve food production in our country. Then the cycle goes, because the more food we produce, the more waste we generate. Yeah, and the cycle goes into the future. Yeah. So the last product is, of course, biomass briquettes. As you guys know, the cost of energy in this country is very, very high. Industrialists who need a lot of heat, especially when they are in their production systems, they need to be able to do that more efficiently. Now, biomass has been proven time and time again as being way more efficient than electricity. For example, at our factory, we actually use our own briquettes in our production system, and it's 4 times cheaper than electricity. Yeah. So, in essence, it's very powerful how you can solve a lot of problems all in one go using a circular economy model. Yeah. So solve sanitation on the left-hand side, transfer those benefits into food production on the right-hand side, and that way we're actually helping to solve critical challenges that we have in our country. So what you're seeing in front of you, I'll just ask you guys to move to the next slide. So that's our factory out there in Athi River, in Machakos. As I said, it's the largest in Eastern Central Africa. If you guys are around there, there's folks, Melters, Wali, I can see Florence there. Guys of Fresh Life, you can please speak to them and they can bring you guys to our facility. Enjoy as well, to come and have a look at it. We've also just recently launched a facility in Kakamega County, together with the Kakamega government, with a view of solving, of course, waste management in Kakamega, as well as food production in Kakamega. So guys in Kisumu, of course, we had a discussion with you. The conversation was a bit slower. So the Shemejis won the race. So I'm actually here also, if there's anybody from Kisumu County, you can have a discussion as well with regards to how we can also move this model to Kisumu. So of course, Fresh Life are already here, which actually makes it easier for us to integrate our model together with theirs. So yeah, that's us as the Sanaji Collaborative, and nimesema asante sana.
Thank you so much. The only thing that you didn't tell us is how many people you've created employment in Kenya. How many people have you employed? And how many of you have employed other Kenyans? The answer is tending towards 0, other than our speaker for the day. So feel challenged. So I know we'll expect some questions, 1 or 2 clarifications. We move to the next session. And in the next session, we only have 3 panelists. Can the 3 panelists please come over? We have Eva Muya. We have a representative of Omande Trust. And then we have a representative from Danko. Tafadhali. Oh, there are only 2. Danko. We can also have a volunteer panelist. You can join them. If you are there and you are able to support us, would be very grateful. It's okay. So we have Eva Muya is a Kenyan wash entrepreneur and an advocate who started her career manufacturing and supplying detergents to schools and institutions, then progressively transitioned to wash. She is the founder and owner of Varet Products and Global Sanitation Environmental Program, an NGO focused on advocating for sanitation and menstrual hygiene management. She is also the vice president of PASA and an appointed member of Nairobi Rivers Commission. Madam, you are holding so many titles. Oh, sorry. Gen Zs, hi. You are holding so many positions, and Gen Zs might have a problem with you. But you're a good role model to the Gen Zs. Yeah? We also have a speaker from Umande Trust. He is representing Mr. Omoto. Yeah? When I started my journey in WASH, I used to understudy their projects in Kibra, and probably you'll explain what you do. Okay? Later. Sasa. For now, let me move the other side so that I can also listen to you. Let's check your mic. Perfect. Now, we are discussing I'll ask those who have made the presentations also to join the panel. We have a very serious gender issue. You will please forgive me. It's unacceptable, but for now, good. Now, to our representative from Umande Trust, just in 1 minute, introduce yourself and Umande Trust, please. 1 minute.
Thank you very much. My name is William Sande. As you've heard, I represent Umande Trust. There was a concern about gender. I believe I'm here representing my managing trustee, who is Benazir Douglas. So for today, I'd like you to look at me as the other gender, so that we balance. Thank you. Now, I'll be brief about Umande Trust. Umande Trust is a right-based agency which believes that modest resources can significantly improve access to water and sanitation services if financial resources are strategically invested in support of community-led plans and actions. We work in active partnerships with communities, the civil society, public sector agencies, and private institutions to advocate for and model options for improved access to safe, adequate, and affordable water and sanitation services. Today, I'm here to look at two critical interventions that Umande Trust engages in within the communities. We basically operate within the non-formal settlements.
Thank you, thank you. I think the introduction, 1 minute is over.
Okay, thank you.
Do I address you as he or her?
Choice is yours.
Choices have consequences.
Oh, and in the Umande Trust, I'm a WASH coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Now, from Umande Trust, I have a simple question for you. What is your approach and strategy as Umande Trust? Approach and strategy, two things. As Umande Trust, in the promotion of decentralized treatment facilities and non-sewered sanitation.
Thank you. In Umande Trust, what our approach is, we deal in low-cost wash infrastructure and sanitation technology development. So in everything that we do, we use community-led approaches, meaning all our interventions, we start with the community and we look at the needs, we look at the challenges they have, and then together we develop how to come up with solutions. So everything we do, our approach starts at the community-led engagements. We also roll our programs through ensuring they have active partnerships with the relevant organizations and institutions that are having the same ideologies that we want to do within the community. So part of our strategies is to ensure that communities are completely served with safe sanitation facilities, and that they have the lowest options of technologies available. Because as I told you before, we work in the non-formal areas. Non-formal settlements are people who are not economically well. So being not economically well, they are not able to afford decent and safe sanitation products. So ours is to ensure that everything we do, we look at the low-cost option so that this encompasses and engages everyone comfortably within what we do. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. And Eva, I want you to compliment on the same, answering almost the same question. And the question is, what is your approach and strategy, yeah, as far as your organization is concerned, in the promotion of decentralized treatment facilities and non-sewer sanitation, specifically to your organization?
Thank you for inviting. Can I start with an introduction first?
Please do so.
Yes. And my name is Eva, like he mentioned. I don't wear many hats. It's a consistent hat. And I'm the founder of Varied Products. And I started Varied Products when I was a Gen Z. I registered Varied Products in 1993. So it is 31 years old. I was completely a Gen Z. And transitioned the business to different mutation formations and up to where we are. And formed a Global Sanitation Environmental Project just for advocacy, for sanitation spaces in terms of business and sanitation actors, then transitioned. And I found myself in Pan-Africa Sanitation Actors, an African organization that brings 27 countries together, and we're still growing to discuss issues of SMEs, MSMEs, and their role in terms of policy and decision making, because mambo kwa ground inakuanga different. So that is the reason why we came on board. So Kenya Private Sector Sanitation Actors is an affiliation to Pan-Africa Sanitation Actors. So why Kenya Private Sector Sanitation Actors? We started as Kenya Septage Emptiers, where it was bringing emptying together and the businesses around emptying. So emptying in this space, I think all of you have seen an exhauster somewhere. You have seen your last meal is just, you have seen all these nice slogans that they do have. And the people who run these businesses are formal and informal. Formal in terms of registration, informal in terms of operation. And so once we look at the data that is being provided every single day, that we are at 33% safely managed sanitation. So the question for us would go, who are running the 70%? Where are these businesses that run the 70%? Who digs that pit toilet back in the rural place? How are they aware or familiar with sustainable development goals? Do they even know what is sustainable development goal? Who is talking about the upper technology, which is decentralized systems? are they even familiar or aware of the standard global conversations that are happening? So Kenya Private Sector Sanitation Act has now transitioned to look at the entire sanitation value chain, containment all the way to treatment, and started to look and map out the businesses that are small, that are growing, and that need to be part of this conversation. And this needed a policy approach. When we are on the ground, we are the service providers. We have policies. And these policies at the ground level were a challenge to us in terms of contradiction. So you have the MCA that allows you to give a certain service and the standards around it. Then you have the Public Act that comes and says that is not the right thing to do. So today, the MCA officer, the NEMA officer says you're doing a good job. Tomorrow, you are taken to court for doing the same by a public health officer because the act talks of something different. So there was reason for us to start merging and start bringing this conversation to the attention of government and saying we need to put these conversations together in terms of coordination. You need to harmonize policies so that we are it's able to give us enabling environment. So the Kenya private sector does advocacy at that level of policy to bring government on board and to look at who is being left behind. I'm happy to announce this because I'm sure WASREB is somewhere on the, I can see Maluki, because when the WASREB had this conversation all the way from Engineer Gakubia and Richard, I'm sure he's around, and we started having conversations, and they saw the need of bringing pit manual emptiers into the guidelines of the urban sanitation service provision. And this is unheard of. I think it's the first African country that has brought these guidelines to the WASREB space. So Kenya Private Sector Sanitation Actors advocates, speaks, and stands for policy engagement at the SME and SME level so that we can be heard, so that we can be part of this conversation, and so that we can be able to move and proceed upwards. Another thing that is of great importance to mention, we are talking about on-site sanitation. We are talking about decentralized system. I have had a lot of conversations here, like it is new to us. For the private sector at our level and at a higher level, it is not new. In Nairobi, just for example, we have about 120 technologies of decentralized systems that are running estates, that are running malls, that are running institutions, and they were done by local Kenyans. And the conversation has been, we are talking about ISO standards 24521 2016, and I'm glad Dr. Joy is here. We were able to put together as the private sector to bring government to the table and to bring Fecal Sludge Management Alliance for us to start discussing ISO standards and for us to start translating the ISO standard to the local service provider in terms of a Kenyan service provider and in touch, in connection with policy. So we put together a conversation of coordination between the private sector at the low level, the pit manual emptiers. How can they sit at the policy level to be heard and the decisions to be made? So we play a critical role in terms of advocacy for the local Kenyan and for the local entrepreneur and the local sanipreneurs. We no longer call pit emptiers. Pit emptiers, they are called sanipreneurs for the service they are saying. Just to finalize on that statement and to demystify, I've had a lot of speakers say that private sector is driven by profit. No, we are service providers. We are not driven by profit. If you talk to us on one-on-one, you will know. We go to homes to empty and someone does not have money, and we negotiate and we tell them, we even give credits. We are a service providers and we are social entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eva. For the interest of time, I'll not engage the two speakers to talk about the same thing, but I'll want the audience to now engage them. But before that, I would also have requested Eva to tell us the number of employees in her organization and Umande. Yeah?
Yeah, so In my company?
Direct and indirect.
Okay. So directly has varied products, depends with the process that we are doing, but permanently 6 people. And permanently, when we are doing constructions, because we also do biodigestor septic system, constructions, incinerators, low-cost incinerators, we go up to 50. Depends with the season. And our highest season was during COVID, because everybody was at home and we were busy and blocking and doing a lot of work. Thank you. But as an association, if you put together the number of organizations and the number of private sector that comes together, it's probably over 100,000 in terms of the people that have been employed by the small enterprises that are looking at sanitation. Thank you very much.
And your catchment or your area of operation?
In Kenya, yes, in Kenya and out of Kenya, because we also have clients in Rwanda and Zambia.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the same, on Umande Trust, we have a lean workforce of 6 employees. In Nairobi and Kisumu, we are 3. Apart from that, we have a section of the community whom we've developed a lot of social enterprises for, beginning with our biosanitation option, where we do biocenters for communities. Now, these are epicenters that are profit-oriented, that make the sanitation more than just a sanitation facility, but there you can access other products like shops, water kiosks, halls for meeting, offices, and these are where the communities that are sustaining the facilities get their value for why they are within the project. Now, as she was speaking about manual pit emptiers, Umande Trust has trained, registered, and has 2 strong groups in Kisumu who are now doing that as a social enterprise. They're registered, vaccinated, well-equipped, and they're making good money, a total of around 35 youths, Gen Zs, operating in this. You remember before this, they were taken as villains within the community, being arrested, but now they're formally recognized. They've been trained by the county public health officers, and they're actually a challenge, or we can say the demand for the exhauster is as much as the demand for the manual pit emptiers that we have trained. So they're making money through that. Yes, apart from that, again, we have a lot of social enterprises that we engage the communities with when we give them seed funding and they start their businesses. So ours is to track how the businesses are ongoing, put them through, have the data for them, and have more training so that they achieve whatever they wanted to achieve. You know, when a community is empowered and their livelihoods are taken care of, then it's very, very easy to continue sustaining the projects that they have. So that is the base that we are looking at as Umande Trust.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. At Region Organics and Fresh Life combined as a Synergy Collaborative, I think it's about 500 direct and more than 2,500 indirect, yeah? Yeah.
Thank you. And I was very impressed with one thing. Eva started off when she was a Gen Z. But I can see she's still a Gen Z at heart, just like me. The Gen Zs, you are doing a good job. Ni vile hatutaki kuambia mtaringa sana. Let's now pick 1 or 2 questions from the audience before we break 1 or 2 questions. This is the first question. Please, if you have clarification question, you also want to add something, just raise up your hand. So we only have 1. Murunga?
Thank you. My name is Murunga from Regional Center. My question goes to the Kenas presenter. I listened to your presentation and clearly realized that your organization, the main mandate is to perform conformity assessments. But I also realized that the same conformity standards and testing and calibration is done by the Kenya Bureau of Standards. So my question is there any overlap between your mandate and that of the Kenya Bureau of Standards? Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Thanks for that question. What we do as Kenya Accreditation Service, we accredit conformity assessment bodies. When we talk about conformity assessment bodies, it includes those who test. These are laboratories. They are both general testing and medical testing. We have certification bodies, inspection bodies, calibration bodies. Now, with the case of KEBS, KEBS is a conformity assessment body. KEBS is involved in conformity laboratory testing. They do certification, they do calibration, they do inspection. Actually, we've accredited KEBS for some of the activities that they do. So there is a distinction. The standards that we deal with are a bit higher, and KEBS does not deal in that. Let me go further to give, they have a laboratory, the laboratory is accredited, we accredit. They have inspection services, they get around to look at the products that have been manufactured, both locally and inspect the ones that are coming out of the country. We accredit them for those activities. That is the difference.
Thank you so much. Given that we don't have any other question, may I thank all of you for sparing your time and participating in this activity. Let's all give them a round of applause for what they have done. And may I now request Dr. Engineer to take over.
Thank you very much, Professor, Engineer. Thank you very much. I would now like to request you that we transit, we change gears to the next session. And the next session, our topic will be a discussion on the capacity development and research for improved sanitation, governance, and service delivery. So let's now focus on that. I will moderate. To help me go through this exercise, we have a speaker and we have panelists. But we will do this exercise in between 45 minutes and 50 or so from what we have discussed. So I would like to, first of all, if you look at your program, the speaker is supposed to be Professor Faith. Professor Faith has given the responsibility to Dr. Lenita Sumba, who is also from the same organization. So I would like to invite Dr. Lenita Sumba. Just a brief about Dr. Lenita Sumba. Dr. Sumba is a co-director of Johnson Green Limited, which is a company that provides decentralized wastewater treatment solutions. She also has roles as the Vice Chair of the Governing Council, Builders, Kenya Chapter, the Project Manager, Committee Member of the Buani Water Project, and a former Director of KEWI. She is also does part-time lecturing in Meru University of Science and Technology. She is a former chairperson of WIWAS, and she's a peace builder, connecting water, sanitation, environment, and health to peace, prosperity, and well-being of women, girls, and vulnerable. He is keen on educating the public on some of the behavioral changes to change their mindset. She's a holder of the PhD in biology, master's in parasitology, postgraduate diploma in integrated water resource management, and she also has training in basic decentralized wastewater treatment, among others. Help me to welcome Daktari. Dr. Sumba? Ah, okay. So, Daktari, you have about 10 minutes to give us your storyline. Karibu. Somebody to help us fix the screen.
It is this one.
No, no. Oh, yeah, it's that one.
Yes, it is this one. This one. Yes. Where is it showing? Okay, good morning. Yeah. Do you want to be mobile or move? Yeah, mobile. I like to move. Okay. I'm happy to present this morning on behalf of Professor Faith. So my presentation is on transforming institutions to advance women leaders in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We call our project the Sisters Project. And this is a comparative study between Kenya and Ghana. And the institutions that are participating in this study are University of Ghana, University of Nairobi, African Population and Health Research Center, the Women in Water and Sanitation. Okay. And the participating researchers are there, Dr. Kabaria, who is the chair of the STC for this conference. We have Professor Karanja, who is our principal investigator. We have Professor Mberu. We have Engineer Thuo, who is a former male champion and still is for the Women in Water and Sanitation. We have Ms. Betsy, who is undertaking a PhD under this program. We have myself representing the women. And then finally, we have Dr. Ivy Chumo, who is our newest graduate in, with a PhD. A clap for Dr. Ivy. She just graduated with that. Okay. Okay, so I have put there some photo for you to look at. I belong to the Gen X. Those days when we were at the university and visitors would come to our rooms and the first thing we'd do is to get the album and show them our best photos. So I visited the ministry website and I believe they have put there their best photos. So I picked some of the best photos so that we could look at how we look in the ministry. When we started this project, the face of the ministry was at the top there. And then, of course, things are changing. We launched the impact report, and we put up our best photo. We were making some serious decisions, and we put up our photo. And even we cut cake, and we put up our photos. So that's how we look in our situation. And I like talking about gender. I'm not a gender expert, but I like starting with some metaphors that have been attributed to women. And the first photo talks about the glass ceiling. You've heard of the glass ceiling. Women, whether they are qualified, I mean, they may have many qualifications, but just breaking that ceiling becomes a problem. Another one is the sticky floor. There are some jobs that are just designed to keep some people down. Not trying to sound like some jobs are not useful, but look at our institutions and see how long would a secretary take to become a CEO or an MD. She can only grow up to a certain level. Maybe the career path does not allow unless she changes the career path. So just sticking on that flow, you're meant to stay there. The next one is a leaky pipe, and it's relevant in STEM. We start off male and women almost at the same time, but along the pipe, the women start leaking. So at the end of the pipe, we have a very small percentage of women remaining. The other one at the bottom is the glass cliff. You may break the ceiling and get into the sea suit. You're just at the cliff. You're not even safe there. People are always watching. What are you going to do? What mistake is she going to make so that we discredit her? Then another one there is a worry work. I'm sure we have women in this hall. They are wondering, has my child been fed? If it was a rainy season, the clothes are on the line. Who has unhung my clothes? So you're not concentrating. But for the men, they know maybe there is a woman in their house looking after these small things. So you have full concentration. And then the last one is a labyrinth. We start off maybe at the same time in high school. We are almost the same level. We go to college, almost the same level. Then factors like getting into family way comes in place. So you go this corner, you're supposed to be taking maternity leave. The male counterparts are proceeding. You go this other side, Mara, the child is sick. You're going to hospital to stay there with your child. So there are many corners before you get to the top. So that's why we are in Sisters Project. Okay, so I've summarized that. Women are underrepresented in this sector. And then when we go to the universities and other learning institutions, women tend to take teaching roles because maybe they are easier and like doing some serious research. And if you're at the university, if you don't publish, you perish. And we find very few women being principal investigators. And then nearly invisible as vice chancellors. I don't know how many women are vice chancellors in this country, and if they are, how many are in STEM? Not many. Now come to the industry. This same project has picked on the water sector because water sector is mainly a STEM field. So when we look at the industry, we graduate many girls, not so many, but many. They are increasing in number. And then after 1 year, they get in the industry and they start dropping off. So what is this that is making women drop off from the industry? In the water and sanitation sector, less than 5% are MDs or CEOs in the water sector. When you look at industry, consulting engineers, 3%, professional engineers, 8%, graduate engineers, only 20% are women. 12% are women. Then look at that graph. The upper graph, we have about 50% women in other non-STEM areas. But STEM areas, only 29%. Let me take you back to the Women and Youth pre-conference in 2021. There you can see Caroline, Dr. Carol, and myself. We met women and we asked them, what challenges do you face in this sector? These are women from this sector. And they mentioned the challenges that you can see there. But I'll pick on knowledge gap, now that we are talking about capacity development. We are just not talking about women for nothing. It has been proven that when water and sanitation projects involve women at all stages, starting from designing, then they are more sustainable than those that did not involve them. And then, of course, this benefits not just women, but everyone else in the company. So the Sisters Project, what is its overall objective? It's to look at the efforts that institutions in the sector are making towards mainstreaming gender, and then come up with innovative strategies that can protect women in the sector and help them advance into leadership positions. So specific objectives, we are looking at the policies, cross-country, comparative, Ghana and Kenya. We are looking at factors that influence the progression of women along occupational pathways. We are looking at successful strategies that men have used. What is this that you men are doing that women can copy from you so that we all move together towards equity? And then we move into organization and then co-develop these strategies together with the organization so that we can move together. Our approach, we have used surveys, we have done interviews, key informant interviews, we've held focus group discussion with those organizations, University of Nairobi, research institution, WIWAS, water sector institutions, and professional bodies. And then we have talked to staff at all levels, senior, middle, junior. We've talked to some HR people, we've talked to people in the government agencies, and we've talked to over close to 300 people in the sector. We have talked to them to just see how they are. Yeah, we've also looked at policies. Some are national, some global, some regional, to see where this STEM and gender comes in. And we saw some gaps. There are policy gaps, lack of awareness, no implementation or little implementation of the policies. Some lack clarity. STEM area is not emphasized in the gender policies. Lack of monitoring and evaluation, and lack of emphasis in the policies on importance of promoting women representation in STEM fields. Work package 2, it's on gender and occupational pathways. Here, we are trying to look at intrinsic and extrinsic factors that influence training and occupational pathways for women. And then we found some key findings. We grouped them into individual barriers, family barriers, workplace barriers, community barriers, and structural barriers. And there's a list. We have also work package 3, which is on women's career progression to leadership position. As I said, we want to see what are men doing that we can copy, and then compare career progression of men and women in STEM. Some findings on work package 3, unconscious bias. Some of these things we do not intentionally. Women talked of negotiation challenges. They lack negotiation, the art of negotiation. Double standards in leadership evaluation, and intersectionality, whereby you find some challenges, maybe your tribe comes in and you're a woman, so that's double. If you don't maybe belong to the correct tribe and you're a woman, you can suffer intersectionality as such. Then work package 4, where now you come in as a water sector institution, we would like to develop and test some innovative strategies with you, and this will trigger organizational change that will support to advance women in leadership. So the lessons that we've learned, there is need for institutional policy reforms to actively promote gender equity. We have also seen the importance of support networks. Creating formal and informal networks for women will significantly impact their career progression. We have also seen the role of community awareness and engagement, which is also vital if girls are going to take up STEM courses and go through them. So what are our successes? We have policy database that we have developed on gender and STEM policies from the regional, international, and national level. We have the database. We've done also some capacity building initiatives. We have one PhD, one postdoc who is Ivy. We have some interns. We have masters and short-term trainings being supported by the project. And then we've also had stakeholder engagement and awareness. And this has sparked discussions among the organizations that we are working with. So our next steps is to get a firm commitment at board level, board and top management level, for willing institutions to benchmark gender progression in key STEM leadership and top management. And then institutionalize the process at the ministry, in the academia, in water sector institutions, and beyond. So these are, as I conclude, these are the organizations that have shown interest. We wrote to all the water sector institutions, including water service providers under WASPA, but we got minimum response. But these are the ones that have shown a response, and they are going to form part of our case studies institution, starting with Nyeri, Tana Waterworks, Kakamega, Water Sector Trust Fund, Meru University, University of Nairobi, DECUT, JKUAT, APHRC, KEWI, and Muranga Water Company. So as I conclude, I would like to acknowledge the individuals and the institutions that took part in the study, and then the donor, who is IDRC Canada, for the funding. And that is my favorite photo as I close. Look at the women. Their path is full of house chores. And the men are looking forward. Nothing is in their path. And the women are looking at the men, wondering, why can these men just see what we are going through? So with those few remarks, I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause. She has indeed, as much as she's taken the gender route, she has talked to capacity building and certainly research. Even as you jot down your questions, if you have questions in the area of KEWI, like I mentioned in the introduction, she's been a director. It's not the director of sitting on a board. It's an equivalent of principal or a VC. That's what she was doing, so she knows all about the KEWI issues. Thank you very much. I also would like to thank the institutions that have taken interest in following this program, and urge others also to get interested. Right. Would now like to invite the panelists. Panelist number one is, I'd like to invite, one of the panelists was, one of the speakers was Engineer Dr. Simon Mdondo, who is the chair of the Department of Civil Engineering Environment in JKUAT, but is out of the country. He's also a member of STC. But his good friend, Professor Engineers Meso, graciously accepted to step in, but I decided to make him a panelist. So I'd like you, Professor, to step up. And as much as you associated yourself with Gen Z, I now want to expose you. And his exposure goes like this. Professor, where is your name now? Yes. Engineer Professor James Meso is an associate professor at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology with a wealth of experience in lecturing, research, consultancy. He is also with the JM Road, over the 25 years experience in development work, and currently leads a team of water and environment engineers at Rains Engineering Services Limited. He teaches and supervises both undergraduates and postgraduate students locally and internationally. And he doubles up as a visiting professor in Finland. He's a scholar who represents the university at various national and international forums on water and environment related issues. Currently, he's coordinating Masters of Sanitation programs being offered at JKUAT and is supported by Delft University in collaboration with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation under the Global Sanitation Graduate Schools. His father is an EMA registered lead expert and has over 25 years experience in practicing as an environmental and social impact assessment expert. You are exposed. Is this still a Gen Z? Clap for him, please. I'd like also to invite the other panelist, who is panelist, who is Dr. George Wainaina. Kindly step forward. As he steps forward, Dr. Wainaina is a scientific knowledge broker, Department of Sanitation, Water and Solid Waste, in development of SWAG, Swiss Federal Institute of Aquatic Science and Technology. His current role, Wainaina facilitates and enhances science practice exchanges by synthesizing SADC's research insights and communicating with the targeted practitioners. In addition, he takes feedback and insights for practitioners to inform SADC's research, with the overall goal is to improve provision and sustainability of water, solid waste and sanitation services. Daktari holds a PhD in transitions and innovations management with a focus on informal settlements, upgrading and basic service provision. He has a master's in water policy and a bachelor science in water and environmental engineering from Egerton University. Let's clap for him. I'd also like to invite Dr. Joy Rungi. Dr. Joy Rungi is the Director of Sanitation Research at the Institute of Mary University. He's also an SDC member. Dr. Rungu he holds a PhD in water and sanitation engineering at the Delft University, that's the Netherlands, Masters of Science in Environmental Engineering and Management at JKUAT. She's an experienced researcher in sustainable sanitation, a circular economy approach, and has vast experience in on-site sanitation technology development, testing and implementation, and in particular within the informal areas and peri-urban settlements. She's a winner of the 2022 Delft Alumni Impact Award that recognizes alumni who have made significant impact on water and sanitation sector. Alumni Dr. Joy Nyawira Rungu of the Kenya wins 2022 the Delft Alumni Award and the 2023 Most Chancellor's Research and Innovations Award that recognizes individuals with community impactful research. A clap for her. Lastly, but any panelists remaining out there? Good. I think this is it. Let's start the discussion in this manner. We are still talking about capacity building and research. And we are talking about non-sewered sanitation, NSSS. So we're saying the non-sewered, and I would like the panelists and the presenters and the speaker to listen to this, because it's a question that you will all have to respond to, but with a special interest to your institution. The non-sewered sanitation skills gap exists partly because universities and other institutions that are supposed to provide skilled professionals are geared towards the sewered sanitation. How can the water and sanitation sector respond to the skills gap that must be filled if we are to make the most of the opportunities presented by non-sewered sanitation? So as I look at your institution, I say, please describe the role that your institution plays in this particular aspect. Daktari Wainaina, please. And you have up to 7 minutes or below.
All right, thank you very much, Daktari. So George Wainaina is my name. I would like to clarify a bit about where I'm coming from so that you understand very well a few of the things that I'm going to talk about. So I work with the Swiss government at the Institute for Water Studies, which is called IAWAG. in German. It's an abbreviation in German, and I'm based in Zurich, Switzerland. But I'm Kenyan, and this is why I'm here, and also supporting our sector in general. I started in Egerton University, but finished in Utrecht University for my PhD. But my undergraduate was in Egerton University. And I'm proud to say that I was taught by one of the panelists here, Dr. Meso, at some point in my life. And when I was learning, I realized very well when I came outside that, yes, we are learning a lot about sewers, yes, but when you come out there, the reality is that the coverage for sewers is very low. For many of us who are engineers, there was a lot of trainings in line with sewer designs and such. And this is also fair, and it has its place. But then, of course, there were some instances where we had challenges when you cannot build a sewer, let's say, in an informal settlement. Then what exactly do you do? What options are there? How do you handle it as a water engineer? And this broadens the scope to also not just water utilities, but other organizations that offer water service provision services, including NGOs and such, who handle it a bit differently, who we should collaborate with. So at IAWAG, at the Department of SANDEC, we do a lot of research, consulting, and teaching. And if you're in the sanitation sector, you have probably interacted with our content, because we have over 500 researchers under one roof, and we are a global institute. So if you have ever used the sheet flow diagram, that is partly a product of SANDEC IAWAG. If you have ever used the compendium of sanitation technologies, that's a product from IAWAG, SANDEC. If you have ever used the guide for BSF training and production, a lot of the work has also was also started at SANDEC IAWAG, and this has been running for the last over 40 years now. And that's where I'm coming from, and I'm involved with outreach and engaging practitioners, and this is why I'm here. I think responding to skills gap that we are missing at the moment, I will try to be a bit, to speak a bit about it in an outlook kind of manner. And why do I say this? Because if we are to respond to the skills gap, we have to, first of all, as utilities, appreciate the fact that the skill gap is already there. A good example would be if you look for someone to do business development for non-seaward sanitation within your utilities, that's when you realize you don't have enough consultants who can actually do this kind of work. When you try to manage now the partnerships that will come with non-seaward sanitation, a good example is a partnership that I recently visited in Mavoko, where they have a gated community which has an aerobic treatment plant, but is not within the confines of the utility. But then the utility requires them, the gated community wants the utility to run it, and they are already running it with a different kind of arrangement. So this is a delegated model which is working in the opposite way that we understand. So we are going to need people who have capacity to bring in more technologies within the utility and actually manage them and manage these kind of partnerships along the way. So there are very many gaps that are there when it comes to turning from sewerage to sanitation, and including both within the utilities. And this is not directly taught in school. And therefore, we have to appreciate the gap is there. And that we agree because we're in this conference. The next thing is to establish capacities that are relevant for non-sewerage sanitation. Which capacities do we need? Can we be able to point them within our utilities, or do we not know them? Can we improve our capacity within the utilities to understand this? Then assess these capacity gaps at the utility level. Do we have the right people to handle these? Do we need to upskill our people? Do we need to improve their capacity? Or do we even need to employ new people for new capacities that we are going to need? Things like business development, writing proposals that are of a different nature besides heavily engineering engaged proposals. More collaborations between engineers and non-engineers, and more collaborations between the utility and the consumers, now that you're going to be interacting with them in a different way along the way. So we also need to think about preparing the professionals of the future with issues such as climate change. How do we anticipate it? Quite recently, most of your sewer treatment plants were flooded. These kind of events are going to happen more. We know in engineering we design for, let's say, a 50-year flood. Now it's going to happen more frequently. What do we do about it? Can we predict it? Have we mapped our utilities? Do we have this capacity? So we have to prepare our future capacity also within the university. And this now anchors to what we are talking about here and to the main question: how do we prepare this future capacity? And this is where EAWAG and SANDEC comes in partly, including partners. We operate in very many countries in the global south, about 20 of them, including Uganda and others. And we have global products and also localized products. The examples I gave earlier, such as the Compendium of Sanitation Technologies, has been a guide to many sanitation actors in West Africa and also in East Africa. And these are free resources that are out there that you can get. We also do a lot of research in line with sanitation, which is all open access, but we also understand that utilities need capacity to understand this research and take it up. Because for researchers to do the research and leave it there, it doesn't mean that the utilities will take it up. So there's capacity need to take up research. How can people within the utility be able to take up the research which is out there and free of charge to inform their decisions along the way? So other products that come from EAWAG include the online courses which are free to register and do. So we have some on non-seaward sanitation, and these are free, quite relevant, but can also be contextualized, and it's also easy to approach now that I'm here, and as a utility say, it might be a good idea to just have one session on this as an introduction, and then our employees can take this up. So I'm not publicizing our courses. What I'm saying is that there are free resources out there, including from other universities, including Mary University and JKUAT and the others, which we can now get interested in looking at and allow for these options within the utility structures to actually build capacity at personal level in a self-paced way, allow time for it within the utility time scopes. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to act in an uninformed manner, then we will be in the same problem in the next conference that we attend. So specifically for Kenya, we have a collaboration framework that we are establishing, which is under my office. And I come in as an external partner in this, so not as a Kenyan. And therefore, when I talk of partnerships, when I'm coming from an external point of view, I have to ensure that they are equitable, especially when they are coming to my own country. And so the partnership that we have, we call it PREF for WASH. So it is practice, research, and funding for water sanitation and hygiene. And the idea for this is to have localized, contextualized solutions within the countries that we are operating in. In Kenya, we have the academic institutes, 2 of them represented here, and also so JKUAT, Meru, Strathmore. We also have Egerton University. And we have taken those as the research institutes that we are going to work with to provide us students who are doing their masters. Then we have a pilot utility, which is Nakuru Water, and this is entirely led by Timothy with his team in Nakuru. And what they bring in is the challenges that the utility is facing, and we can develop a research agenda for the utility. If I asked you how many utilities have a research agenda here, or how many utilities know what they want the next intern who will come to the utility to do, I'm not sure whether many have a research agenda for that. So we are supporting them in developing a research agenda from the current challenges they have, so that when we have students coming from the universities at master's and PhD level, they can find already established problems. They don't come with what I would call fictitious problems. They come with established problems. The students come and then they find established problems within the utilities that they can work on, and they can have an actionable and operationalizable output for the utility and for themselves at the same time. So if it is for the utility, then it means then it also feeds into the planning of the utilities activities, and this is where they come in. We also have WhatsApp, who is an NGO, who we are also in the collaboration framework with, and they support also with onboarding some of the students and bringing them in. So this is at the collaborative framework level. And we also have WSTF, they have Water Sector Trust Fund. They have a department on research, and we would like to anchor these within the government entities also. Because as I said, I'm coming in as an external partner, and I have an exit date because I think all external partners, be it an NGO or a research group from outside, they should have an exit date so that they ensure that whatever they are establishing or supporting to establish has some form of sustainability. So I'll hand it over from here to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer George Wainaina, for that explicit explanation. We have had the possibility space, we have had the collaborations he's talked about, and the various alternative technologies, and that has been extremely good. Now to you, Dr. Joy of Meru University, and as the head of sanitation research, what are you doing? What's your role to be able to talk to the issues of research and capacity development?
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm privileged to be here and so happy to talk about what I feel about capacity building and research in sanitation. When I hear about the word sanitation, I think about historical injustice. The research institutions are blamed, but it's not our blame. When we look at after our independence, we had two technologies, mainly the sewer, which was for the elite. Then we had the public, general public, on open defecation or pit latrines. So there was the seaward conventional, and then there was the pit latrines. Then the institutions developed programs to address the needs of the industry. That's how we came up with maybe civil engineering with the wastewater treatment. And then we had the public health programs, which produced these people who are concerned with the public health and environment. And that's why at the ministry level, we see the technologies, on-site sanitation is in public health because they're concerned with the public health and environmental health. So what's the implication of this? When you're dealing with the on-site sanitation, we are dealing with the capture. Public health is about protection of the public and the environment. So the Ministry of Health, the public health was concerned with the capture. We don't want this shit out, we want it contained somewhere. So yes, it is there. Then for the elite, these were the ones who got the service, the sewer system. So we have these two distinctions which are very clear. But then what happened as the population and the urbanization took place? Population is growing, the urbanization is taking place. We are not thinking about containment, we are thinking about now. We don't have space. What do we do to that shit, which is in that pit? So we are thinking about, can we think about safely managed sanitation? What is safely managed sanitation entailing? It's entailing the containment, the emptying, the transport, the treatment, and maybe the reuse. But then in the systems that were there, or even at the top, the ministries, we were not dealing with safely managed sanitation. We were thinking the Ministry of Water and Sanitation, sewerage was the main concern. Then the other side, it was the toilet, the containment. So here we see there's a gap, because what do we do to the waste which is there? Do we have the facilities to ensure that this waste is taken care of? We don't have this. But then, how do we get to link this? Do we have people who are trained to deal with this particular type of waste? These people are not there. I was a trained engineer at Egerton University, engineering, but then I only did designs of the sewer because the university is trained for the industry. I was being trained to work in the water utilities. The people in public health were being trained to work in a particular sector. And this is needs analysis. You look at what are the needs of the outside. So now, come to now the bridging the gap about the waste which is in containers and we don't have space. Now we are thinking about safely managed. Nobody knows about safely managed. The people in public health don't know about safely managed. As engineers, we don't know about safely managed. So now this is where we find there's a real gap, and we are thinking about now, how do we link the public health and with the water? Because if you're thinking about treatment, we must need our engineers. We must need the fecal sludge treatment plants. We are thinking about how do we empty and how do we transport this type of waste. So now that's where comes now a very big challenge, where you find, yes, I was trained, but really I seriously lack. And maybe from a point of evidence, with a lot of research, I can say that our staff within the water utilities are good experts when it comes to the sewer systems, because those are the skills that were impacted on this particular group. But when it comes to the other aspect of safely managed sanitation, there is the gap there. For the mandate of the water utilities, water and sanitation, but with the main focus on the sewer systems. So how can we be able to expand the mandate of these institutions so that they are able to also incorporate the aspect of non-sewered sanitation? And if this is added there, are we planned? Are we prepared as a country? Are we prepared as a water utility to ensure that we have the skills and knowledge that are required to handle safely managed sanitation? In most of the cases, I've done some interviews and you're asking, we want to talk about safely managed sanitation, and someone asks you, what is safely managed sanitation? And this is someone who is talking on behalf of a whole county. This amazes you, and it is this year, 2024. So you realize that there's a serious gap in terms of capacity on safely managed sanitation. The other thing when we are looking about the non-sewered sanitation and the sewered sanitation, there's a very huge difference in terms of how this should be delivered. And here we are talking also about the historical injustice. What are our perceptions about sanitation? We have to get rid of the paradigms that are within us. So when I'm thinking about helping or getting people in on-site sanitation, on-site will entail technologies. It will entail dealing with the cultural issues, dealing with behavior change, dealing with financing, dealing with aspects of governance. All these are involved. It's a whole package. Because on-site sanitation, there are very many actors. We all know containment, there's the transport, there's emptying. There are so many actors who are involved in. We talk about the various business models that can happen. If we need it to be well implemented, we must ensure that the people who are working on this have this expertise. Is it possible that we can be able to have programs that are addressing each of these? Technologies are not adequate. When we're talking also about technologies, we've realized that technologies are context specific. Whatever is applicable here in Kisumu is not applicable in Meru. We need a lot of innovations, a lot of testing of innovations. And another thing, we need to have our context-based. Let's have artisans who can be able to work on technologies for a particular locality, such that even if there's an issue, these people can be able to get on board and repair those. The last season, the rainy season we had, we saw what happened to the technologies. So many of them were not working. We have a very big challenge. So whatever we are talking about and non-sewer, this is really a continuous process, which is just starting. We are at ground zero, especially on non-sewer sanitation. We need to have very many innovations. So for the water utilities, I feel that there's that room for expanding the mandate, so that we have the aspect of non-sewered taken care of. And when we have that, we realize that we need now the people with skills and knowledge to be able to implement whatever we are talking about here. So coming in as a university, I would say we are leading in this particular sector of non-sewered sanitation. Mainly it's because of my lack in participation of a non-sewered sanitation program during my PhD. That's when I realized, oh, those problems we have in Kenya, so they could be having a solution. So when I came to the university, I really wanted to see how can we be able to have the programs which are addressing the challenges that we had. But then, back then it was a very big issue because nobody wanted to hear about shit. Like I said, there is a lot that is even in us who are educated about human waste. But then, in one way or the other, my partner, my university in IHE, they were able to help us. They are leading in non-sewer sanitation. So they give us a funding. They had developed a non-sewered sanitation MSc program that they wanted to transfer to universities who are willing to take it up in Africa and Southeast Asia. That's why we got the first program of MSc in sanitation. Under the arrangement where I was leading as the investigator, the issue was I get 2 other universities that I would implement the program with. And in that, I have Jomo Kenyatta University of Science and Technology and University of Eldoret. We have the Master of Sanitation, Master of Science in Sanitation program. We have that. We also have short courses. And also we have another program, professional program, which is called Graduate Professional Diploma Program. So at the university now talking about the Meru University of Science and Technology, this program was launched in the year 2020, the Master of Science in Sanitation. As of this graduation, I should be having the 61 students graduating with the Master of Science in Sanitation. We have these people. For the short courses, we have, as of last week, have given full scholarships. Not me, I partner with institutions. The German Wash Network, so many other institutions have given these programs to 227 students, which I pride myself of. It's no mean achievement, I would say. Then we are still working on thinking about having a complete career path in the line of sanitation. We have a Bachelor of Science in Sanitation, and we also have a PhD in sanitation. But one thing I would want to say, it's not easy, especially in our Kenyan space. People have not accepted that people with sanitation can get a job. When we are seeking accreditation for some of these programs, they feel it's not enough. Who do you think will employ these people? Who do you think these people are going? So there's really a challenge of even helping the institutions who are doing this to show that there's need in the field. And talking about the programs that we are having, we are looking at an integrated way of delivering the program. We are giving people with expertise in technologies, with expertise in how to deal with the behavior and the cultural issues, sanitation financing, and also aspects of governance. So when you have this particular graduate, you're sure that this person can be able to help you in implementation of this particular program. We are also dealing with the professional programs. We realize we have a lot of staff members who are already working. They need skills, just some skills in particular areas so that they are able to operate well. We have programs like, now we are moving, we've realized, actually the country has realized you're going the seawise way. The seaward and non-seaward, how can the seaward and non-seaward sit together within the same sanitation, within the same urban space? So we are dealing with guiding people on how to successfully implement the statewide inclusive sanitation program. I've seen so many here who have interacted with on a one-to-one, guiding them through the process of that. So talking about the aspect of research, we are leading in research in so many areas, partnerships with very many institutions. Maybe in this floor today, I know I have 2 students from Clanfield University, one PhD, the other one master student. We have them here. Ahmed and Matthew, if you are somewhere, please raise your hand. We have them here. Matthew, they are doing research, and they are doing research on non-sewered sanitation. We've been having a project on scaling up off-grid sanitation. We are also partnering with institutions. We have Clanfield University, we have Aston University in the UK, we have some universities in South Africa, in Peru, on matters of research. Still, we don't only preach research, we are still in the community about this non-sewered. we are collaborating with the community, helping. We have developed a sustainable waste management way of dealing with the fecal sludge from the communities that are around us. We've established a treatment plant. If you are near Meru, you can come in, I visit you, I take you through that. It's small scale, more for our students to be able to learn from what we are doing, so that they are not only learning theory, they are also able to learn from practice. They see what they are doing. So if you get to the university, you'll be able to see what you are doing, the resources we are recovering, and how they are being used. We are also doing research. Now we are dealing with the fish formulation. My colleague Michael talked about BSF. We are dealing with the fish feeds formulation. That is what is happening now at the university. We formulated fish for chicken feed. So we have all this type of research. So additionally, we are partnering with the industries, more so to lecture. I know we have different expertise. If I have a module, I may realize that Daktari here has expertise to come and deliver that content. So we call them facilitators. I lead a module, but then I get different facilitators. The main thing that I like is the pre-for-wash that we are developing with the Daktari, because one of the key challenges is on the aspects of research for funding for our students, and also trying to link the research we are doing to the industry. How can we be able to be doing research that is directly addressing the needs? We have very many issues here. The private sector, we have here very many needs that they need addressed. So how can we be able to ensure that whatever we are doing is addressing those needs? It's not just to have the degree certificate, but addressing a need. Bringing in the financials into this will ensure that my students, after coursework, will not first run away. That is the main challenge that we've had. When the students are done with their coursework, they first go to get funding, and then you really have to seriously run after the students to be able to work on this. So which is a good thing. So for me, talking about capacity building first, I request that we create jobs. Private sector is doing very well. In the public sector, can we have jobs advertised targeting this particular group of people? Where are my students going? We need this, and we are talking about that. But when you go to the jobs which are being advertised, you find that one is a link. It's a weak link there. I really request that as we move forward for us to help the country, let's create these jobs, and we'll be able to attract very many students to come on board and study these sanitation programs that we are addressing. So thank you very much.
Another round of applause. There's going to be another session, a side panel. You can go there and you can continue hearing this story. I think it's very nice when you hear today people talking about, shit openly in forums like this. There are years when people would look at you very strangely, and you look like a bad manners, talk about feces. But we are beyond there. That is very good. In the interest of time, I will not make any comments on this, which has been very good. I would now like to invite engineer professor and warn in advance that don't turn this into a classroom, because I know you have a lot of stuff. Tracy, please.
Thank you, engineer, but you are profiling me, but I've forgiven you for that. Now, let me start off from what he said about shit. While I appeared before the University Council and I was being promoted to the position of associate professor, that is a ritual, and I did everything, and towards the end, I had a golden opportunity. I was asked, do you have any question or suggestion to this panel? I put to them a simple suggestion. I told them that once you confirm me to this position, remember that my title will be a professor of shit. And they kept quiet. And later on, the VC asked me, what exactly do you mean? That's when I told her that we really need to call shit shit, and that's where some of us ache their living. And I wanted to be the very first person to have to be a professor of shit. There's none global, isn't it? So that is a position that I'm fighting for. I hope somebody will recognize me. Now, we've been told to talk about the skills. At one step in our life, we were in a maths class. Competency is equals to skills plus knowledge. So what are we saying? We want to talk about skills, which simply means it is competency minus knowledge, isn't it? Is it possible? It is not possible. So when we are talking about skills, generally we are talking about competencies. And as an institution, that is an area that we have excelled. And how have we done it? At personal level, I started the journey way back in 2008. For you to successfully teach a class, and those of you who have done education will tell you that what we see contributes to what percentage? A good percentage, isn't it? This idea of propagating theory, pumping theory, I normally call it spreading rumors. Because you see, you are telling somebody something that a UDT looks like this. This person is not able to visualize. But if you have a UDT as a model somewhere and you show this person will never forget. So we started off in 2008 and identified a church, a school, and a residential area where there are so many people. And the first thing we did was to build for them the dry toilets, the UDDT. Yeah? So from that, we were able to impart some skills. We moved a step further, and I told you yesterday, and I'm repeating it again, some of these things require passion. We moved a step further, and when we went to JKUAT again, through JICA funding, we were able to build a block of UDTs in a primary school that has a population of 800 students. So you can imagine you being a Gen X or a Gen Z. You have never seen a dry toilet, and your child is able to even sketch for you. And remember, by building that toilet, we have pupils who are passing through that school. And therefore, this message, the skills are passed across. And we train them on how to use the toilet. And let me tell you one thing. Normally, we allow the senior students to use it to the envy of the young ones. And when you open it up for everybody, people literally crowd to use that facility. To me, that's a better way of imparting some skills. The other thing is on research. As JKUAT, we've tried to unpack the whole concept, and we started off from the Bible. We started off from the known to unknown. Let me put it simple. God created us, and in our own wisdom, we are challenging God. How are we doing it? When you are relieving yourself, and you are very keen, the two products, that is urine and feces, are not supposed to meet. In fact, that angle is 90 degrees. So what happened? In our own wisdom, we decided to combine. While God actually told us, in very simple terms, let us separate these two so that it becomes very easy to manage. So that is where we have started off. And we are really encouraging staff members, the students, to go back at home and ensure that at least they have a dry toilet within their compound, which is easier to manage if you look at it critically. By the way, we are sick. We are a sick nation. How do you use potable water to clean, to flush the shit? Surely. And that's what you're going to do. I'm sure, is there somebody who will not relieve himself or herself today? There is none. We are going to do the same thing. So let us go back to our roots. That's what we are saying as JKUAT. We look at it, and when I was born, there was a pit latrine. How can we work around that pit latrine so that we embrace
the philosophy and the principles of non-sewered sanitation. Finally, let me put it this way. We work with different organizations. We work with different utilities. Ours is need-based. If you come to us, we'll give you the full package. Through number one, short courses. Modules that are tailored to your needs. As you are aware, sanitation is a wild field, and all of us can fit in it. Number two, we have short courses, as Daktari has mentioned here, and we have postgraduate programs, undergraduate programs, and graduate programs also. We may not have it shouting as sanitation because of what Daktari alluded to. What will happen to the graduates? Because when we did a needs assessment, in the process, when you want to develop a curriculum, we always come back to you. But let me also tell you, you have failed us. In this conference, you've noted clearly that there's a serious gap that needs to be filled. Serious gap in sanitation that needs to be filled. When we are developing a curriculum and we send out a request, why don't you come out strongly as a stakeholder and tell us the truth? The way Gen Z has done it, they have told us the truth. Some of us don't want to accept it, but we are forced by circumstances to accept and also pretend to be Gen Zs. So, if we can have that feedback from you, we'll then be able to develop, include that bit in the curriculum. But that is not enough. If you never went through the process and never had an opportunity, there are always the short courses for you. And even if you only hold the first degree, you can have a short course or you can come for a master's. JQuat, Mary University, Eldoret University are offering the master's. And probably Daktari didn't tell you, they are even offering the PhD, and already she has quite a number of students who are pursuing PhD in sanitation. But you Kenyans, colleagues and friends, what is wrong with you? When we advertise for these programs, you don't want to apply. You don't want to come and benefit from the skills. We are sure you are very knowledgeable. And remember, so what we are talking about, competency is equals to skills plus knowledge. All of you are knowledgeable. The only thing you are lacking are the skills. We have the skills for you. Why don't you come to us so that we can walk the journey together? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am sure you still, another round of applause for all of them. I'm certain particularly the lecturers had a lot of information, but we can still catch up with them sometime later. This discussion, as I say, will be continued in a certain side panel. Is there any one burning question you want to pose? Thank you, one, and that's one. Niva, please.
This is just to the last panelist from JKU Art. You said that right now you're concentrating on the dry toilet conversation, and you've come out strongly to ask us in this time and era. So our question goes to you in terms of, we've come from septic tank. That is what the public works had told us that's the direction we need to go. We are now going to the dry toilet, which involves a lot of interaction with the whole process in terms of how it's done. Then we are looking at the Gen Zs who completely are not towards that direction. So how do we ensure that we do not go back to the septic, where we are fixated by this one particular model and want to highlight that model, yet there is a lot of involvement in this space of on-site sanitation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question, and I'm going to answer it in a very simple way. And you will forgive me. Very simple. We simply have to make sanitation sexy so that we can bring in the Gen Zs.
And one of the ways of going around it is to look at the entire value chain and ensure that we are able to create an enabling environment such that somebody can be able to have some cottage industry in one of the functional groups. Even if you're looking at the septic tank, we can dislodge the septic tank. We can look at that as, you know, a containment measure, and then we try to get a resource out of it. And there are quite a number of products that you can end up getting from that. So we invite them to come so that we think together. We don't have a one-shop solution. Our recommendations are that we work together, because that Gen Z, I can assure you, has some knowledge that only requires some panel beating. And once you panel beat, you'll discover that they are more knowledgeable than you, okay? And in the process, you can actually you can come up with an innovation that you can end up even patenting. That's how I can put it.
Thank you very much. In the interest of time, you'll excuse me, panelists. I know I would have given you a minute or so to wind up, but so that we don't disorganize the entire program, just allow me to thank you profusely for the good presentations and the interactions we have had, and I would encourage all of us to interact with them at whatever level. Thank you very much.
Both within and outside our borders. You remember the question he asked me, that we did not involve academia. We are true to it, and that is why we brought the panel. A round of applause, please. Professor Engineer, as you go, Manjemo, Engineer Lima said that in the curriculum of water, it is only sewerage that has been taught, not sanitation. So engineers most of the time become an impediment to new technologies because their orientation, that is the engineer speaking, I'm only reporting, that the orientation of engineers is only sewerage. So when you come with other innovative technologies, because in the curriculum, you are taught sewerage at the university, not sanitation, which is very wide. So when they see something that is coming and is outside the sewerage, they push it aside. And now the issue is, can we expand that curriculum so that we have sanitation? 30 seconds, Prof.
Thank you so much. I beg to differ with that line of thinking. In JQuat, I've held management positions. I was a head of department for 4 years, full cycle twice. And one of the requirements from the Commission of University Education for all curriculums, once you roll it out for a full cycle, and a full cycle is, if it's a 3-year program, after 3 years, you're supposed to revise it. After 5 years, you're supposed to revise that particular curriculum. So what have we done? We have incorporated elements of sanitation in our program. And that's why we are saying in our programs, and that's why we are saying it's very wide, because we'll basically look at what we call the hardware part of it as engineers, and then we leave this software part of it to people from other departments. So we've revised our curriculum and incorporated them in, and then also, some of us who've been in the field for a long time realize that, look here, the programs that we have are not basically meeting our needs. So as JQuat, we have developed a program equivalent to what is currently being offered by Egerton University, and that is water and environment engineering.
In that program, we have clearly brought out issues around sanitation because it's actually civil engineering water option. So we had an opportunity to include some units in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I think that is well answered and it is captured. We have a repository there and we'll be able to share with the engineer Lima. But I think one of the key takeaways is that if these changes have already been done, the engineer was asking that can we also have standardization across the higher institutions of learning? And I think that should be also a takeaway as we move. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's agree on a few areas on how we move. I have done some wide, intensive, extensive consultations with the chair and other stakeholders, and I want to bring it to you. If you look at our time now, we are approaching 10 minutes past midday. So if we suggest you have your health break for the next 20 minutes, I'm sure even some of us have already taken the health break. Nilikuwa nachungulia huko nje nikaona. But that notwithstanding, 20 minutes takes us to 12:30. Then we move into the breakaway sessions for 1 hour. It will take us to 1:30. So the suggestion is, instead of breaking and going for lunch, we converge here at 1:30. Have a very short closing ceremony, which will not take more than 40 minutes. So that at around 12, at around 2:30 latest, we go have our meeting, our lunch, and the conference will have been officially closed. So I want to put up a question, which I've already said. As many as of the opinion say aye. As many as, let me repeat the question. Our closing ceremony precedes lunch. So that means that we should wind up by 2:30. So as many as of the same opinion say aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. Au ni majenzi? But ni vizuri hata kama wako, the minority have been heard, but the majority have their way. So the ayes have it. So, Chair of Sessions, as we break, please ensure that by 1:30 we come back here. Because what will delay, the chief guest will not come into an empty room. So it is us who will be delaying the chief guest. But the chief guest is already around, I want to assure you. So the moment we gather here, we just bring the chief guest, read the conference resolutions, then he makes his final remarks and officially dissolves this congregation. So without much ado, let me see, who do I have here? Chair Susan, where is Susan? She's around. Where's Patrick Murunga? And Harry Njunge? So we are holding you responsible to release people in time so that they can be here on time, 1:30. Latest we can add you only 10 minutes. So we don't want to delay. Let us not start the closing ceremony. If we start it late at 2, then it means we also push lunch further. So this gathering for now is dissolved so that we have the health break. And again, it will be good so that we don't mix the health break and the lunch. We give it also some time. So please enjoy your health break, and let's meet here by around 1:30. Thank you very much.